Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tech Tip Talk. I'm Sarah Walworth.
I am Christina McGrath, and we are Knitting Tech Editors.
So here on Tech Tip Talk, we answer your questions about tech editing, knitting design, and knitting pattern writing. We invite you now to put any questions you have for us or our guest into the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them during this broadcast.
We are being joined this month by Tian Connaughton, who is a designer, tech editor, coach, and strategist who empowers creative business owners with this great skill she has of making information that seems intimidating easily accessible, especially to historically underserved communities. And she really is an inspiration to all of us. We are so thrilled for her to join us today and chat with us. So let's bring her in, Sarah.
All right. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
We put you center stage.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to both of you about, of all things, tech editing.
Excellent. We're so excited to have you here. It means a lot to us. Like I said, when we first made a list of the people we wanted to interview, you were at the top because of how much you inspire us personally and how much of a wonderful influence you are in our industry and in our community.
Thank you.
Hey, Anita's here from Denmark. Hi, Anita. Welcome. And we are going to go ahead and pull up some questions that we'd like to ask you.
Awesome. Hit me.
Okay.
All right, let's just start right at the beginning. How did you begin tech editing?
So, like many tech editors, my path was not straightforward at all. I started out working as a sample knitter and crocheter. I have some experience with editing, like novels, books, stuff like that. And in my corporate job, I used to write training manuals. I used to work with a lot of newer employees and, really showing them how to do things step by step. So I think with all of those experiences, I started looking at patterns differently. I started to see oh, maybe this could be clearer. Oh, maybe that could be a little bit different or written differently so that more people could understand it. And for a long time, that's what I did. I just kind of went through patterns and just kind of nitpicked the different things. It might be because of my sign. I'm a Sagittarius. I don't know if that means anything. But my personality was to kind of look at different things and see how to make it simpler, how to make it different and more accessible. And with that, I started just putting out my services as a tech editor. I'm like, hey, do you want me to work with you? Do you want me to tech edit your project? And I think that my biggest break came from someone seeing me have the word tech editor in my signature in my email and reached out. And that was after that, it was just go, go, go.
So I know that you edit. Sorry, Sarah.
I know that's an excellent business tip. Do y'all hear that? Put
it in your signature.
Signature in your email.
I know that you work with both knitting and crochet. What do you love to edit?
So there's a lot of questions you're going to ask about which I prefer, what I like better. And my kid will tell you, I don't have favorites. I just like what I like in the moment. If I'm working on crochet right now, I am in love with crochet. And then I'll switch to knitting and then I'm in love with knitting. And then it's back and forth, this kind of today I feel crocheting a blanket, right? And then tomorrow it's knit a shawl. So it's kind of my mood. And having both skills really make this job even more interesting because no 2 days will ever be the same, right? One day I'm working on a book for a knitter, and then next day I'm tech editing a book for a crocheter, and the patterns are completely different, and that's what I love. So I don't have favorites at all. It's just what I feel like.
I love it. And I find the same thing. When I get into a pattern, I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And it's so neat to get different patterns and different things to work on. I think that's the beauty of this kind of career.
Yeah.
I like what you said about just being in love with whatever it is that you're working on, and being totally in it and about that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone who's joining us live. If you have a question for our guest, Tian, or if you have any other question for us about tech editing or knitting or crochet, obviously we have a crochet tech editor with us today. Woohoo!
Which is pretty exciting because we can't answer those questions.
We can't. So. We're not good at that. So, hi, Amy.
But the principles are the same.
Yes, exactly. Amy's joining us from New York City. Welcome.
Hey,
if you guys
Amy.
do throw any of your questions you have into the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them. All right. So I have a question for you. Maybe this is something that might be specific to one craft or the other, but what errors do you come across the most? What kind of errors?
Consistency. And that goes back to not having a style guide or not knowing how to use a style guide or what a style guide is. But going through a pattern, you really pick up on those little things that just like, oh, but you said it totally differently before. And now you're saying it differently. Do you mean what you said earlier, or do you mean what you're saying now? And I think consistency is really important because that will allow your knitter or crocheter to have confidence in what you're saying or what the pattern really means, right? Because if you're using SK2P and then you're writing it out in a different way, it's like, okay, well, which way did you really mean? Or it just leaves too many rooms for people to misinterpret what you mean. So if you're consistent and you use your style guide and you have everything the same all the time, you'll build up that confidence that people know that you know what you're doing, what you're saying is actually true.
It's a true
thing. That's the biggest thing I see too, is those style inconsistencies. And I think some people think it's not a big deal,
right?
But it really is, because of all the things you just said. It causes confusion.
Yeah,
it does. And it can make you see, when you're inconsistent, it's a mark of unprofessional pattern writing. To be extremely consistent, which all it takes is making yourself a style sheet or a style guide or following your publication style guide. To be very consistent in the way you say it, and that leads to trust, right? Trust with your audience. So,
and that's not to say that you can't evolve over time. We're not just saying, write exactly the same way year 1 and year 5 and year 10, right? Because you'll evolve naturally. Yeah. But as you're going from pattern to pattern to pattern, we kind of really need to see that it's Christina who's writing this, or it's from Nitpicks, or it's from this other publication, right? So it builds that consistency and people can actually know what to expect.
Well, and certainly within the same pattern, like, it's kind of common that people will write an abbreviation one kind of way in the instructions, and then in the chart, it's written completely differently. Well, what?
Which is it?
Exactly.
So at least within the same pattern, you need to make sure you're saying things the same way, like you were just saying.
So, Christina, we got some questions from our audience. I'm going to throw them up. Here we go. Here's one. Paula asks, nice to see you. A question: how do you get to tech edit for publications? They don't have open calls for submission as they do for designs.
No, they do not. So there's a few different ways that I've gotten work with tech editors with publication. And one is what I mentioned earlier. It was in my signature. A magazine that I was working with for design saw that I also did tech editing, reached out, and we started working together, and we worked together for many, many years. I made a lot of money from that publication. And the other way is to write an email. I've actually reached out to a publication that I wanted to work with. And it's not just like, hire me because I'm great at this. No, but if you've been, Paula, we've been in a lot of different classes together. It's not about you just showing up and like, hey, this is what I can do. It's about what you can do for that publication. So send a nice email, say, hey, I have experience with X, Y, and Z. I see that you work with a lot of X, Y, and Z. You're a sock knitter. They work with a lot of sock. You're an expert at sock. Tell them why you should work with them. Tell them why that you are the best at what you do and how you can help them make their patterns better. If you see errors in their pattern, even better. Reach out and be like, hey, this last pattern, I found some errors and I think I can help you with that.
Wonderful. I
Don't
love
be
it.
afraid to ask people for what you want. What are they going to say? No?
Yeah, that's something that was hard for me in the beginning, to just say what you need. Like at the end of my email, say what I need from you next. And it was hard for me at first to do that. But why? Like, why do I have that hang up about that? You got to ask for what you need if you want to get it. And after you do something like that a couple times, then you get the word of mouth going on.
Absolutely.
And people
Absolutely.
are going to want to work with you because they heard from so and so.
That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say, is do you find also then you get referred after that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to put my coaching hat on because I get this a lot where people are like, well, I don't know what to write in my emails. And it goes back to like, who are you? What can you provide to that publication? And why would they want to hire you? And just say that clearly and succinctly in your email. They don't want to read like 5 pages of what they don't want to hear your whole life story. Just get to the point. What's in it for them?
Right.
That's fantastic. So how about a little bit of coaching for
Okay.
us? Let's go to this question. What advice would you give to a designer just starting out, and how best can they grow their business?
Just start, right? I know that's simple, but it's like, all right, go back to, so we just did this in one of our training sessions inside of Pattern Partnership. So go back to your vision. What do you want for yourself, right? Is it that you want to be able to be home with your kids? Is it that you want to be able to go on vacations? Start with there. Start with your major why. What do you want to achieve? And then work your way backwards, right? For me, I keep saying, I want that lake house, right? I want to be on the lake. I don't care how I get there, I'm going to get there. But how will my business support that? Will I be able to go teach on a regular basis at a yarn store? Not if I'm at the lake. I can't do that, right? So I have to think about the future that I want and how can I bring in those different opportunities that will support that. So right now, if I want to be at the lake, I need to have passive income. So I have courses, I have programs where I show up and coach once a week or once a month, right? I can do that from the lake house. I can tech edit from my lake house. I can design from my lake house. I've designed on vacation in Jamaica. So, so it's about what do you want and then figuring out those little things that will get you there. And it's just focusing on those things. And it's not about publishing 20 patterns a month or a year. That's not going to get you there. You got to learn the market. You need to learn how your business function. Who are you for? What's your niche? What's your brand? Right? What is the problem you're solving? And even as a designer, you have a problem you're solving. You just got to tap into that and reach out to those people because you're not going to be reaching out to the millions of knitters and crocheters out there. You're just going to find your little niche that want what you have and talk to them consistently over and over, right? What is your message? Your message is what you're going to be posting on social media over and over and over. How many times have you seen me talk about pattern grading? A lot. You're probably like, oh, I'm sick of hearing it. But guess what? There's a lot of people who want to keep hearing about pattern grading. And I'm going to keep talking about it until I'm blue in the face. And even then, I'm still going to keep talking about it because that's the message. That's my brand. So does that kind of make sense about, looking at your vision for the future, working your way backwards to see how what you're doing fit into it, and then figuring out how to build a message around what you're doing and drill that in, day out.
I think that's great beginning advice because if you're not clear on those things, everything you do, you're just going to be floundering. It's not going to work out.
And we see that all the time where people just keep putting stuff out there over and over. And it's like, but you're not marketing it. You're just putting out new patterns and you only make sales when you put out those patterns. But what about the other time? Right? So develop a marketing strategy, which involve a niche, your brand, your message, and then just keep drilling that into your audience over and over.
I love it.
Well, maybe this is a good time to mention all the ways that you help people do that. I mean, you have a lot going on. I know, I wanted to like ask you what you're most excited about, but you've got a lot of things going on to offer designers and tech editors.
Yeah. I mean, I do have a lot going on, and I'm excited about the core of what I do, which is about helping women, especially women. I help a lot of people, but especially women, marginalized people, underrepresented people, especially Black women, because we don't see a lot of ourselves in this industry. So at the core of everything that I do, it's around that, right? About helping and supporting these people. So through that, I developed, the pattern grading course because I want to help more designers who want to branch out beyond just, shawls and hats to garments, right? So I want to help those folks learn how to grade, not just to like plug in numbers, because that's not how grading works. Bodies bodies are weird, right? You might have wide shoulder, narrow hips, you know. So it's about the principle and the foundation so that you as a designer can really figure out how to design anything with just the basic foundation. And then I also teach tech editing because I want to see more people who look like me, more underrepresented people, get into tech editing. And we see, you might hear, oh, it's a saturated market. There's a lot of people who are already tech editing, but there's a lot of room out there. I mean, I get emails and I can't handle all of them. And I would love to recommend people who I've worked with, which I do, and say, hey, I can't do it, but here is so and so. Reach out to them. And I've been doing that a lot over the last few weeks, right? The first time I ran my tech editing course, I had students get clients even before we were done with the 8-week program, right? And since then, I've been like, hey, so and so, she shows up, she does the work. I have people coming to me, I can't do it. I'm going to send them to these people. And that's what I really love doing. I mean, if I could get paid to just recommend people all day and connect people, that would be my dream job, because I know what people who have gone through my programs and what they can do, and I know the publishers and the designer who need their help. And I just want to put people together like this little puzzle, like, hey, you go over here, you go there, and you do this. And I was just talking to a publisher friend the other day, and I'm like, I can't design. I mean, I can design, but I don't have time. I don't have time to tech edit another publication. But guess what? I know a bunch of people who can help you. And I just sent over a bunch of names. And I'm just like, reach out to these people. I've worked with them. I trust them. They'll get the work done. And that's what I love doing. So in everything I do, it's about this idea of a rising tide lifts all boats. It's great at the top, but it's lonely up there here by yourself. So why not just take all your buddies with you? And that's what I'm trying to do. So we can have a party up there.
Yes. I love it. What a good job that is.
I mean, if someone would pay me just to connect people all day long, that would be like my dream job.
Yes.
Because I'm a collector. I collect a lot of people. And I'm just like, hey, you'd be good for this project. You'd be great for that project too. So, yeah.
So what's next, Christina?
Well, I think we should ask her about that. So there is a lack of diversity in tech editing, and you work hard to try to correct that. So what do you think the industry can do? What steps can the industry take to help support that being improved?
So we talk about, like, we've been having this conversation for the last few years about, there's not a lot of models on covers or in magazines. And that's great. I love seeing like a Black woman on a cover of a magazine because we don't see that. But then at the end of the day, it's like, what else can be done? We want to see more diversity in the designers. We want to see, and when I say diversity of the designers, of course, a lot of publications aren't looking at who's submitting designs and like picking people based on, oh, this person looks queer, I'll pull that person in, right? Or this person looks brown, I'll pull this person in. But with that in mind, that the publication can't really go pick people based on how they look, I created a free course in collaboration with Knit Picks and We Crochet, and it's called Get Published. And I wanted to see more people of color designing and submitting their proposal so that publishers have more options, right? Because if you're only seeing like one or two people of color coming through, then it's really hard to like get them into the magazine. So I took it the other way and say, hey, I want to see more of you people, people who look like me, people who are queer, trans, non-binary. I want you to have the confidence to submit your ideas in the first place, to give yourself more of a chance. So that I created earlier this year. I don't know what time it is. I don't know what year it is right now. So, but that's how I want to see more people of color, more underserved, historically marginalized people in the industry, not just in the pictures, not just models, but I want to see us all represented in the designers. I want to see us at the table when people are coming in and deciding what will be published as well. Right? We want to see people of a very diverse background at the table making decisions about publishing and tech editing. Why the heck not? I mean, last year or earlier this year, like I said, I have no idea what day today is. I put out a post asking if anyone know of any Black or brown tech editors. And the vast majority of people are like, no, they have no idea. They could name me. And I'm like, that's just sad that I'm the only person of color you can name as a tech editor. And that's how Edit for Clarity came about. It's not just for people of color. It's not just for non-binary, trans people, queer people, gay people, right? It's for everyone. But the focus at the end of the day is people who aren't normally seen in those spaces. And that's going to be the core of everything I do. I want to see more people who are not represented in this industry. Even though we're spending money.
Right.
Right? I want to see us too at the top making decisions and making money from this industry as well.
So I'm going to put the link to get published into the chat. And on your website, it says it's free. Is that true?
It is free.
So
it
this
is completely
amazing.
Free. Just sign up. There's interviews with publishers. There's interviews with designers and aspiring designers. Some of them who are here right now asking questions and commenting. So it's completely free.
That's unbelievable. Talk about rising tide to offer this kind of support free. Let's get more people published for sure.
Yeah. Because it's not really difficult to get published. It's a mindset shift for sure. But once you get past it and see, the interviews where I talk to publishers and they're like, hey, we're not looking for you to be perfect. We're not looking for you to be an amazing drawer or anything like that. We just want to see your ideas. I think once people can see that, it makes it more accessible. And that's what we want to do. We want to make this whole industry accessible and just see how it's not hard at all. Heck, if I could do it, anybody can do it. Seriously.
Well, I think that's one of the most impressive things about you is you take all these concepts and information it's kind of, maybe not confusing is the right word, but kind of intimidating, like hard to access and hard to figure out. It's like I was reading in your post the other day, and Sarah and I have said the same thing about the book we're working on. There's so much information out there, right, in all these random places, but finding what's credible, putting it together, trying to make sense of it, and then figuring out what you actually do with it is a little more confusing and intimidating. And you I met with Tian one time and we sat and talked, and she was just like, it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
Yeah, Worcester. Yeah,
maybe 4 years ago. But just get to the bare bones of things and make that information easy to understand and accessible for people. And you're really good at doing that. And I think it's cool that your courses, offer more in-depth of that,
Yeah. And I mean, I think back to when I first started out and I was asking random people for information that one either felt intimidated or had the scarcity mindset and didn't want to share information, or they gave me information that didn't make sense, right? Because they looked like they were doing really, really well on, they had the following, they had like the patterns out there, but they weren't doing what I wanted to do. And I think that's really important. If you're going to look for help, to be careful who you're looking for help from. Are those people the kind of people who are where you want to be, right? So you wouldn't go take advice from someone who don't know social media to teach you social media. You wouldn't
Right.
take advice from someone who has never been a tech editor, never submitted a proposal. You wouldn't take advice from those folks if that's what you want to do. So it's really to vet out who you're talking to, what their qualifications are, and see how what they're doing can help you to get where you want to get to.
That's excellent. So I have a question for you is what are you excited about now? Like
Ooh,
what is getting you going?
ooh, there's a lot. I'm excited about a nap after this. Let's be honest. I mean, it's the end of the year. I mean, we've worked hard. Let's take more breaks. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
But seriously, I'm excited about helping other fiber artists live the life that they want. Like I talk about this all the time, right? When I was like commuting 3 hours a day to a corporate job that, was a good job. It made great money, but it was just like I get up early, drop my kid off at daycare, get home late, make dinner. And it was just kind of like this rush, rush, rush all the time. And the thing I want to help people do now is find that freedom that I found, which is sort of weird because like I can sit here in the middle of the day on a Monday and chat with you guys and not worrying about pretty much anything. And that's what I want to bring to a lot more people, especially marginalized people, especially women of color, because I know that it's hard trying to run a household, run a family, trying to live your best life and doing all this stuff. And it all comes back to financial freedom. And with financial freedom, you get this sort of time freedom, right? Because I can remember like when I started going in full time on this, I was the one showing up to all the soccer practices. I was the one showing up to all the baseball games. I was the one that could show up at school randomly. I could show up when the nurse called. The nurse would be all sorry, and I'm like, no, I'm home. I will come get him. For the third day, I will come get him or whatever. It would be a lot of times, but having that freedom, and I don't think a lot of women experience that. I think we're just constantly like, we got to go take care of this thing for this person and this thing for this person. But what about us? Our kids are looking at us and seeing, oh, well, mom never did the thing she always said she wanted to do. So why should I even care about doing whatever I want to do? Right. And is that what we want to teach our kids? Do we want to teach them to hustle and do all this stuff? For what? And if the pandemic has taught us nothing else, time is short. We're not going to be here forever. What's the legacy you're leaving behind? What are your kids going to look back on and say, oh, mom worked 50-hour week, 60-hour week. I never saw her. We never sat down to dinner. Or do you want to say, hey, mom was annoying because she was always in my business because she was always home. And I would rather have that. And I do get that. Right? My kid come home, I am here. He goes to school, I am still here. During the summer, we're all here. So it's like, what do you want? Do you want to have a lot of money and a lot of hustle, or do you want to have financial freedom? It might take you a little bit of time. It's going to take you a lot of work. You're going to have to sit down and figure out what do you want to accomplish with your life and then work towards it. It doesn't have to be that difficult, but you do need to focus on what you want and go all in on it. So that's what I'm excited about. And my Edit for Clarity course is starting up again in January. Registration's open right now. Early bird special is going on right now for another week or so.
I gotta get.
And how can people find out about that on your website?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram. I talk about it all the time on there.
Yeah.
For the last few weeks, I've been talking about it. So if you're bored with it, sorry, not sorry, but I'm going to keep on talking about it because, like we said earlier, it's about the marketing and it's about your message, and just keep talking about what you have going on. And let your audience know how you can support them.
I love that your message is to value what's really truly humanly important. So our connections with other people, the our industry as a whole to make it in accessible and inclusive, and also to value yourself and your rest and your connection to your family. Ultimately, that's the goal of what everything that we do is, to bring value to our lives. So,
And yeah, I mean, what's the point in working for yourself if you're just gonna crash and burn? I
right.
want to enjoy the life I'm creating. I like sitting in this office and just spinning yarn or
I love it.
crocheting and just looking out the window or staring at the wall. I talk about that all the time. I just stare at the walls. Because you know what? Life is stressful. So
Yes.
why not just
I love
enjoy it?
staring at the wall. That's like
Yes.
so restful for me. Although your walls are cheerier than mine. Is yellow your favorite color? What's your favorite color?
I don't have favorite, but I'm really rocking, this yellow right now. I'm really loving it. But in a week, come talk to me. Who knows? I don't do favorites. I just can't.
There's too much
I'm
good out
moody.
there to pick only one.
Exactly. I'm moody and I'm flaky. I don't know.
I don't think that's flaky at all. I think that's just loving everything.
Let's go with that.
So we do have a couple questions from our audience. Sorry, Amy, I did get to this sooner. Amy asks, what are your favorite design resources for sweaters?
Let's see. Amy Herzog, her books are amazing.
Yeah.
I have another book. Ugh. It's back there somewhere. But I have another book. I'll post it on my Instagram. I'll do that. I'll take a photo and post it. I can't think of the title, but it's like Sweater Workshop or something like that.
Sweater
Which
Design
has,
Workshop
yeah,
by Shirley
yeah.
Payton.
Shirley Payton.
I have that one too, but I was thinking of another one. I'll post those. It has different patterns. It has different sweater constructions. It has different sizes. It's
Is it this one? Sweater Workshop?
no.
No. Oh, well, there's
You
a
know what?
couple.
I'll find it and I'll post it on my Instagram. So make sure
Okay.
you're following me, and
So
I'll
go
post it
find
in my
Tian on
stories
Instagram.
when
It's
we're
in the
done.
chat. Her handle's in the chat.
Yes, please
Yeah,
go
and I'll post it in
follow.
my stories today. But
Awesome.
yeah, I use those all the time. And from those and from over a decade, I've created my own resource, right? I mean, it's great to go flip through other books and see what the sizes are. But eventually, if you're going to be doing this for a while, you really need to have your own sort of like schematic and measurements and things like that, just so you have this resource that you can go to over and over again, right? Set in sleeves. What do you want the dimensions to be for each size? That's pretty simple to just put on a chart. Next, all that detail. Just create your own resource. Study a lot, read a lot of different books, but then create your own.
And I think that's important for branding too, right? If everybody knows that your sweater fits that way because you have honed your measurements and your schematic for every size, boy, that adds a lot of value to your brand.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's what we're all about: creating a brand that people can say, "Hey, that's so and so. I like her patterns."
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And these things take time to like make the notes, pay attention, develop your style and how you like to do things and the kind of fit that you like and how you like things to work together. And then, but the work is still worth it. At the end, you have something really valuable, then that's what can help you live your best life, right?
Yeah. And I think that people try to rush things. Right? They see a lot of people come in and like, oh, this person just started designing last week and now they're like doing this big thing. And I'm like, yeah, that's great, but enjoy the process too. Slow is okay. Fast is fun, but there's something to say about going slow and building foundations as you go. Like I always reference this. My father was a builder, my father-in-law was a builder. So they always start with that foundation. They let it cure for like 30 days. They don't just like pour the foundation and start building because then everything will crumble. And that's what I like to teach my students, like build your foundation, get it really, really solid, and then add on to it. And that goes back to where we're talking about diversifying your income also. It's not about just piling a bunch of stuff on. It's being strategic and systematic and adding on one thing at a time. As you get really good at it, you add on. And then you add on, and then you add on. And that's how you get to be sitting here on a random Monday talking about taking naps.
I love it. Anita asks a question. When a designer gets up and going as a designer, by your experience, what are the ratios between these parts of it all? Design, edit, selling, accounting? Like what part of your time?
So accountant is ongoing. I don't wait till the end of the year. I look at my numbers pretty much every day because I have goals and I need to make sure that I'm on track to hit those goals, right? So accountant, you should be doing that at least weekly. Are you hitting your goals? Then when I'm thinking about the business overall, marketing is tops. Every day I'm marketing. And marketing does not just sound like shouting on Instagram about I have spots open, because that's not marketing. Right? It's about showing up consistently, adding value to your customer. So marketing is selling. That's tops. Because if I don't sell, I don't make money, and then I can't keep doing this work, and then I gotta go get a real job, and nobody wants that. Designing is at the bottom because I have enough in my catalog that I don't need to keep, edit designing. And even if you only have 5 patterns, you really don't need to be putting out a pattern a month. If you're marketing and doing it really, really well, you should be able to, have collections or do bundles or, you know, design at will, but the selling is key. So at the top is marketing, accounting, and all that accounting stuff. That's every week, every day if possible. And then also make sure each quarter or monthly you have a goal planning session, some sort of, you know, something where you're kind of like looking into the future, where you're kind of like projecting what do I want to achieve in the next quarter? And what am I going to be working towards? How much do I want to be making in the next quarter? And then you're using the numbers to kind of track, do I need to market more? Do I need to change my messaging? Do I need to do a bundle? And I talk about this all the time. A $5 pattern is not going to get you to the money that you want to be making.
Right.
So you need to figure out how you're going to turn that $5 pattern into something more substantial. So is that going to be in bundles? Is it going to be with third-party publication? What is going to get you to that goal? But you got to start with that goal, and you got to track your numbers. It's gonna be hard the first few times you start tracking your numbers because those numbers are not gonna look good. You're gonna be like, I only sold 3 patterns, or yeah, you sold 3 patterns, great. But if you don't know what you did to sell those 3 patterns, you don't know what you should continue to do to sell 3 more patterns, and then 3 more patterns, and then 3 more patterns. So it's about tracking what you're doing. And that's all part of marketing.
Is what you're doing working? Like,
exactly.
Is it working what you're doing, or do you need to, make a new plan,
And I'm going to piggyback on that because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I tried this thing, it didn't work. But did you try it long enough? Did you give it enough time to get that snowball effect? Or are you just kind of jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing?
Did you do it in the right way?
Exactly. And then it's like, well, if you just try something for like a week, it didn't work, and you try something else for a week, was that enough time? So figure out, how much time you need to put into something, tweak as you go, don't make major sweeping changes, right? I'm not going to go start a marketing strategy and then like after a week it doesn't work, I'm going to try something completely different. No, I'm going to tweak one thing. I'm going to tweak the message. I'm going to tweak maybe the wording and see how that works. Right. And keep doing it over and over.
Well, same as in the patterns when we were talking about what area you find the most, it's consistency, showing up consistently.
Yeah, and consistency, that doesn't mean you're going to show up every day on social media. You don't have to be posting 7 days a week, 5 times each day.
Oh.
Because that's not going to get me the life I want. I can't be at the lake posting like that. Right? I want to be out on the water whenever that happens. So consistency just means that you're showing up on a regular basis. Is it once a month? No, it is not once a month. Is it once a week? No, you're going to want to show up a little bit more regular than once a week. But all in all, it's going to be about your message. What are you talking about? Are you talking about this pattern this day, and then tomorrow you're talking about shoes? or something random, right? And you don't need those pretty feeds. I do not have a pretty feed. I will not have a pretty feed. That's not my ministry. But I will continue to talk about the same thing over and over because that's my message.
Your self-confidence is so inspiring.
It's
I
a
think,
facade.
It is. Oh, it is.
yeah,
Not.
I want to
Big
talk about
liar.
this
It's
then.
not.
Because that's what I think has inspired us, is that you say it as it is, and this is what you do, and the self-confidence is there, even if you
It
say
took
it's
a
a
lot of
facade.
time, right? I think turning 40 really changed a lot for me. Now I just don't care. I mean, I'm just gonna say it how it is, and if you don't like it, there's a million other designers and tech editors out there, and I will recommend you some. So
Right.
She'll hook you up with whoever you need to work with. She'll find
let
you
me
someone.
know, and I will hook you up, but don't come into my DMs asking for free stuff. People, please don't. I have boundaries. My time is very valuable to me. I will sit here and look at the wall instead of doing something just because you want it on your timetable. Like people reach out and like, oh, can you do this and this for me? I'm like, boundaries.
Well, and you
I
have a
can't.
lot of services and products that you're offering to help people, and you're doing so much of that that there maybe is a better way for them to get that help from you
Yeah,
than to
and
be
I do a
invested
lot
in.
of free stuff. You can see that whole series I do that was free about publishing. So I do a lot of free stuff, and I just don't want people to just pop into my DMs and just keep asking for free stuff. Because I will say, if you need help, there's a coaching package. You
Yes.
can book time with me. I will sit with you. I will tell you everything I know. I just can't sit here and type it out in a DM.
So let's cover this then while we're here. How can people find you online, and are you taking new clients? This is a question we ask
So,
every tech editor.
it's complicated. I'm not really taking new clients. I work with indie designers who are inside of my pattern partnership program, because these are the folks who are, I know them, I've worked with them, I understand where they want to go. And that's not to say that other indie designers aren't looking to build a brand and build a business and things like that. But I want to dedicate that time to those folks who I have that relationship with. And then I also work with publishers and magazines and things like that. So I'm really not taking new clients unless you're in pattern partnership. Come on over.
Which I put into the chat. So if people are interested, they can go to that link and find out more information.
Yeah.
What about coaching clients, Tian?
I am always taking new coaching clients. Book an hour with me, book 3 months of relationship with me. I love talking to people about, their business, as you can see. Right? Because I like going in and I can see a different perspective, which if you are in your business day in and day out, you're not really seeing all the different areas that you can pursue. And I've done a lot of different things. So I can see like, hey, maybe you should try third-party publishing. Maybe you should try doing this or this or this. And I love telling people what to do. That helps.
That's fantastic. You're cracking Christina up.
That definitely makes it easier, right? I'm really good at bossing people around, telling people what to do. It works out great. So come on.
No, it's not bossiness. I mean, if I give you advice and you don't take it, that's fine. That's
Right.
on you.
No, I was.
But
yeah.
I do like telling people what to do. I mean, I think I have this vision where I can talk to a person for like a few minutes. I'm like, oh, this is your business. Oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Maybe you should consider doing this. Like when we were talking before in the pre-recording session, I'm like, my brain was just going. I'm like, what else can you be doing? Oh, I have some ideas, but you didn't ask. So I'm like, your mouth shut. I didn't ask for your advice.
That is a gift. That's a ministry in itself.
It's hard to not tell people what to do when they didn't ask you, because people aren't ready. If you're not ready, then you're not going to take the advice. So,
well, we can all come sign up for coaching.
Well, but
go
it
for
makes
it.
a really valuable resource that you have this perspective.
Yes.
And that's great that you are offering, coaching that people can get and
Yeah.
take advantage of your how valuable your gift is to do that. So
Yeah. And that's why I don't really call myself a coach. I'm more of a strategist because I want to
Yes.
help you kind of like piece the pieces together. Like every coaching call I go on, what's your vision? We don't start with what you're doing now. I want to know where you want to go. Because unless I know where you want to go, I can't help you figure out the path. And it's not me telling you what to do, it's us co-creating this path that you're going to go on based on what you want to do, your strengths. Right? If you're not good at marketing and you don't want to be on Instagram at all, me telling you to be on Instagram and posting reels isn't going to help if you're just like, nah, I'm not doing that.
mm-hmm.
Right? So it's about co-creating this vision that you have and helping you get there.
Love it. That's so valuable. So yes, people need to touch base with you and pay you for your time for this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And not ask for it for free, which I think is common in our industry, and I think that's something that does need to change. We want to get to some lighter questions, but I want to just let our audience know, people who are here, if you have any more questions for Tian, please throw it into the chat now. What do we have left, Christina?
Oh, Anita gave a comment. She said, "Thanks, you do have a real job."
Yes.
For
I
sure.
meant like a real job where we have to show up every day at a desk.
Well, this is, working for yourself is a way you can show up in the way that works for you, that you need to. And
This is a
as
real
much
job.
as it can be frustrating sometimes, it's empowering, and it's when you give yourself permission to do it how you need to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I show up on social media so other people can just be like, heck, if she can do it, I can do it. And that's the vibe I want to give off. Right? It's not rocket science. Right? I didn't make it through organic chemistry in college. I can't do that stuff. But I can show you, I can break it down for you, this stuff, and make it simple for you. And if I can do it, now what's holding y'all back?
Right.
Excellent.
Right? So
love it.
So I know you said you don't have favorites. So a lot of our lighter questions are about favorite thises and favorite that's.
I'll do favorite for right now, but don't hold me to it because
we won't.
If I post on social media next week that my favorite is something else, don't tar and feather me.
Okay, then your favorite yarn, your favorite type of yarn to work with.
Right now handspun because I am spinning a lot on my wheel, and I'm looking at the handspun I have. I'm like, they're pretty, and I don't want to do precious anymore. Like it's too precious to work with. I must save it for when I'm old. No, I'm gonna use it now.
What kind
I am
of wheel
old
do
right
you
now.
have? What kind of wheel do you like to spin on?
Ashford Joy. One of the
How
little
long
ones.
have you been spinning?
Over a decade. Yeah.
It's meditative, isn't it?
Just sit there, you have like a good movie on or a good series. I'm into murder mysteries, so if you're in Britain and you're kind of like being all stabby, I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna spin.
What's your favorite fiber to spin? What do you prefer?
Let's see. I like merino. What am I working on right now? I think I'm working on some Corriedale right now. I did some Targhee a couple of days ago and I liked it then, but I'm working on Corriedale right now, so I like it now. So tomorrow when I'm working on something else, it's going to be something else.
That's such a great lesson to love where you're at and love what you're doing. That's so good.
It is. It's
and I'm
okay
not
to
great
be where
at
you're
it.
at.
Yeah, and the thing is, I am not great at any of this. I'm just kind of like, I'm just gonna do what I'm doing. If I like it, I'll keep doing it. If I don't, then I'll just rip it off the wheel and do something else.
And not feel bad about it. It's just what it is.
Exactly. When I turned 40, I told you everything just like, it's all about me. And I feel like if I'm doing things that are for me, my boys are happier.
Yes.
Everyone's a lot happier. Even the cats are happier. So yeah, do more for you.
You become a role model and other people can emulate too, that same important, putting yourself in an important position, making sure you're valuable, not putting things in a position where you're always giving yourself, but not taking care of yourself.
Yeah. And I think over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of people talking about self-care and, not putting too much into other people's cup, fill your own. And that all makes sense. So if we kind of just follow that idea of like, yeah, I'm going to pour into mine, and then from mine, I can pour into other people,
Yes.
you'll get a lot more out of it. And everybody else will get a lot more. Because if I'm pouring from my empty cup, it's going to be a lot of resentment you're getting.
Right.
We did get one question in our emails that we haven't answered yet, and we're going back to size charts. Here we go. Can you recommend a reliable men's sizing chart? This is a tricky question.
It is a tricky question, but I use a lot of sewing patterns.
Oh.
I don't sew, but I go and I use a lot of the sewing dimensions. And from there, I build my own schematic to like, okay, a man with this size chest, he might look like this. His arm is going to be this thick or not. And of course, not all men are going to fit into these standards. And as a designer, you cannot realistically design for every possible body variation. So it's about trying to get as close to it as possible. And if you can teach your knitters and your crocheters how to modify the pattern to, hey, your arm might be bigger than this. Maybe you want to do X, Y, and Z. Or maybe your chest is wider and your hips are narrow. Maybe you want to do this. So if you can teach your knitters and your crocheters, that's even better. And I've been talking about knitters and crocheters having a responsibility for themselves to learn how to grade, because it's not just on the designers. I don't know everybody's body measurements. I can't predict how you're going to fit. Do you need more in your bust or not? So it's all on all of us. It's all our responsibility to learn how to grade. But for the men, I go to sewing patterns and see how they have those dimensions set up.
I tend to take a tape measure to all my guys in my house. Like, whoa, how are you?
I don't have that many in my house.
At least to get to find out where I am in this whole, because this is part of the problem of designing, is learning how to design for a body that doesn't look like yours.
Yeah.
And it's a skill, and it takes some practice.
And I've talked about this on social media too, where it's like, I've seen patterns and it's like, do these designers not know anyone who is not very small? Because these extra long arms and extra wide necks, it's like, just because I got a little bigger, that doesn't mean like my neck got so much wider or my arm got longer. So it's like, just look at people.
Yes, I've told some of my clients, I'm like, so take a look at these measurements, and then as you're out at the grocery store, really not to be weird, but really look at people, how their bodies are different from each other. It's not what we think. We don't get these huge long arms as our chest girth gets bigger.
I think designers forget, everybody forgets, right? When you're thinking about something like this, and oftentimes if you're a new designer, you maybe haven't thought about this before, but we think about it as, the chest size grows, body grows everywhere.
Increments. And
it doesn't grow at the same rate. There's lots of parts on the body that grow very slowly as your chest increases greatly. So those are how a lot of those mistakes get made. You get the long armholes and the big wrists and the giant necks, because everybody's making the pattern bigger by the chest size instead of by the neck and the wrist and the armhole size.
And I talk about this in my pattern grading class. I mean, just because my chest got bigger, right? That doesn't mean the increments of everything else is going to change at that same rate. Sometimes it doesn't even change at all. So it's really about thinking critically and really understanding bodies. And like you say, go to the grocery store, sit outside. I would say sit outside and people watch, right? Or just go on Pinterest and just kind of look at different things, right? But it's about thinking critically about the body and really being thoughtful and considerate about the people you want to see in wearing your work, right? Just because my bust is 40 inches, that doesn't mean my arm is going to be so much longer. So just think about that.
Yes. And I think this is important for designers to realize this is part of your job. If you're going to design, this has to be part of what you're doing for your research. I love how you said you read a lot and you did a lot of research, and then
And I
eventually
still
you
do.
came up with your own schematic. So,
Yeah.
Well, because
Yeah, it's an ongoing learning process. And I don't want folks to just think, oh, I've designed a sweater, I know everything. No, just keep reading different books, go learn from other designers, go read other literature from other industries as well. Like I said, I do a lot of research in the sewing industry just because I want to see how bodies are represented there.
mhm.
well,
And there's a lot of larger independent pattern makers for just the largest sizes that we can learn a lot from there.
Yeah.
So,
And the complaint that grading for larger sizes is more expensive, that's not an excuse, right? Because potentially you can make more money if you have more sizes. It's about, what do you value? Do you not value being inclusive? If not, then just say so.
Because what are you doing? You're designing clothing to fit people. That's important. So if you design something that doesn't fit people, what are you doing?
What are we doing? What are we doing? Right? Exactly.
Right. Exactly. So we're almost out of time here. Does anybody else have any more questions? Please throw them into the chat right now. And I'm going to put up on a banner here where you can get in touch with Tian.
Yeah, come chat with me on Instagram.
Or on
Instagram.
Website, and then on Instagram, it is
right there, honey.
There it is. Ta-da!
Yeah, come chat, ask questions. I mean, when I said before that I don't want to do a lot of work in my DMs, that means I don't want to be teaching you a ton of stuff, but I do love having conversations. I do love having chats. If you have questions, drop them in there. If it needs to go deeper into like a coaching session, I'll let you know. But do come chat. As you can tell, I like talking about this stuff.
We are so excited that you joined us today. Thank you so much for talking with us and our audience.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you reaching out in the first place and giving me the opportunity to come talk. I know we talked about this earlier, when we were trying to set this up, but I appreciate you working with my schedule that we can do it now.
This is exciting for us to be able to just talk with you one-on-one or two-on-one and just get your insight on so many different aspects that we haven't had a chance to talk about before. This is fantastic. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. And I hope I wasn't over the top with a lot of these things that you were asking. If people have additional questions, because I kind of went off the rails a few times.
That's okay. We love to wing it. We already said that. So, well, thanks.
I love talking about this stuff. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And we'll see you on Instagram for sure, because I know I follow you and I look at your posts every day. So
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Tian. You're the best.
Bye, Tian.
Bye.
So thanks for being here, you guys. Oh, how do we get rid of that on the screen there?
Oh, I can do that.
Okay.
If I can, there we go.
And thank you very much for being here with us today, everyone. We love talking with you all and chatting with you about tech editing and knitting, and obviously today crochet. And it was really special to have this opportunity to get a little bit farther into the business side of design and mindset and everything that our guest had to offer.
Tian has a lot to offer. If you guys aren't following her, definitely go to Instagram and give her a follow. Lots of the questions that we get all the time from our audience, lots of questions you asked today are things that she's really good at. So I hope you enjoyed our talk with her. I really did.
And do subscribe here to be notified when we go live every month, the third Monday of every month at noon Eastern Time, and sign up for our newsletter to get our free pre-edit pattern checklist. And we're going to see you here again next month. Let's see, it will be January 17th. We'll be back here at noon Eastern Time. And we have a very special guest, so make sure that you subscribe on our YouTube channel. So we'll see you guys in January.